Hey guys, what's going on? Bahroo here, and today I've got another Borderlands 2 video for you, and this is going to be my weapon parts guide. Now, I know I've said I'm going to put this out a few days ago, but I've had some issues with YouTube and audio syncing, so I do apologize, and I actually had to redo this entire video, so I hope you guys appreciate it, and if you do, be sure to hit that like button. So anyway, I've been meaning to make this guide going over all of the different parts in Borderlands 2. As you know, there are variety of parts: the grip, the stock, the accessory, the sight, the rarity. All these different things make up the gun in Borderlands 2. And we're going to go ahead and go over the pistols first. Now, pistols don't have any sort of stock attachment, so it's just going to be the barrel, the grip, the sight, and the accessory. And yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at the different grips, which has a lot of the key stats to them, as well as a manufacturer bonus, which I'll go over in a second. So now we have our first grip here. This is going to be the Jacob's grip. You can tell by the curve on it for when you're specifically trying to spot it, but its bonuses is that it has increased weapon damage, but at the side effect it reduces the fire rate, it reduces the reload speed, and it increases the recoil, which can be kind of detrimental depending on what you want it to do. So obviously you don't want these on, say, flat off pistols. Next up we have the Torgue grip. The bonuses for this one is that it gets increased weapon damage, but at the cost of accuracy, reload speed, and similar to Jacob's, increased recoil. However, the increased damage that the Torgue gets is not as high as the Jacob's, but its accuracy and reload aren't nearly as bad. So this is an alternative to using Jacob's. And now we have the Bandit Pistol. Bandit, very easy to spot here with its sort of H symbol, but its bonus is that it gets increased magazine size, you know, the usual Bandit gimmick, but at the cost of reduced reload speed and reduced accuracy. Another note is that these grips cannot spawn on Vladoff pistols, so you won't have to worry about that. Anyway, moving on to the next grip. Alright, and next we have the Tediore grip. Now, the Tediore grip gets increased reload speed as a gimmick of Tediore. However, it actually reduces the weapon damage, as well as reducing the magazine size. These grips cannot spawn with Jacob or Vladoff pistols. However, even though it has reduced mag size because of manufacturer bonus, which I'll go over at the end of this, it's still beneficial to have this on Tediore weapons. Anyway, moving on to the next grip. And up next we have the Malla grip. Now, the Malin Grip only has one effect on it, is that it increases elemental effect chance. Now, if you have a Jacob's, which has no element, this grip will do nothing. Same goes with Torgue and Explosive. So you really only want this grip on things like slag weapons, since dots really don't do much of anything, and you're better off putting a different grip on the gun. So typically want to avoid the Malin Grip for pretty much every weapon. Anyway, moving on to the next grip, we have the Vladoff grip. Now, the Vladoff grip has a stat that pretty much everyone loves, which is rate of fire increase. However, it also has two negative effects to it. It will reduce the weapon damage and will also cause a slower recoil recovery. So, although recoil really isn't that much of an issue, so you shouldn't have to really worry about that. However, the weapon damage loss can be kind of aggravating on some weapons. Also, don't use this on Jacob's because infinite rate of fire. Anyway, next grip, we have the Hyperion Grip. Now, the Hyperion Grip is probably the worst grip out of all of them because it has nothing going for it. It gets increased accuracy, which doesn't do anything, faster recoil recovery, again doesn't do anything, and it reduces the damage that your gun does. So it's honestly probably one of the worst grips, right underneath Malin, which is just elemental effect chance. But it also does get stability increased with Hyperion weapons, so that's kind of nice. Anyway, for our last grip, we have the Dull Grip. Now, it gets reduced recoil, faster recoil recovery. However, as a downside, it also gets reduced weapon damage. And the Dull honestly has the second worst damage reduction. However, Hyperion, I believe, has the absolute worst, so you don't have to worry about that. So now that we have all of the grips out of the way, let's go over manufacturer bonus. Now, what is manufacturer bonus? Manufacturer bonus means that if you match the grip to the manufacturer that makes that grip, you will get an increased reload speed and magazine size. For example, putting a torque grip on a torque pistol, Vladoff grip on a Vladoff pistol, Dull grip on a Dull pistol, etc., etc. And this goes across all weapons. So if you have an assault rifle, if you have a Dull assault rifle with a Dull grip, you'll get increased reload speed and increased magazine size, and it applies, like I said, to everything: rocket launchers, shotguns, SMGs, snipers, everything. So you always really want to match the grip to the manufacturer, which is why whenever you see me stream, I always try and go for a Torg grip on my Unkempt Herald. So now you know why I do that. So now that we have the grip out of the way, let's go ahead and go over the sights. So as far as sights go, there's really no benefit to any sort of sight outside of personal preference and zoom level. And if you're going for a zoom level, you might as well go the Hyperion sight, which happens to be this one in the clip right now, because they don't affect recoil, they don't affect accuracy, damage, accuracy recovery. Sights provide no purpose at all. However, there is one benefit to certain guns. For example, the interfacer and the greed. These two items spawn with no sight. This is different from spawning with sight none, because when a gun spawns with sight none, you still get that reduced movement speed while aiming down sights. However, for the greed and the interfacer, you still keep your full walking speed while aiming down sights. So there is one benefit to those guns. However, I believe those are the only two guns in the game that actually don't have a sight at all. So anyway, I'm just going through the remainder of the sights here. My personal favorite is the microwave, also known as the Tediore scope. I'm not sure why so many people hate it. I mean, I get a lot of good channels on that. But anyway, just finishing up the sights here, and once we're done with the sights, we're going to go ahead and go over the next big part, which is going to be covering the accessories that can go on the pistols. So that's like your laser double, increased damage, increased fire rate, etc. So let's go ahead and go over that now. And for our first attachment, we have the blade, which is pretty obvious to see by the giant ass blade on the pistol. But this will increase your damage by 50%, and all bladed accessories are 50%, with the exception of the law being 100% and the rapier being 200%. And now let's go on to the next attachment. Next up, we have the stock accessory for the pistols, probably one of the most unused and unwanted ones, which all it does is reduce your recoil and increase your accuracy. So really not all that useful on pretty much everything. Anyway, for the next one, we have the laser double, probably the most sought after one, and it reduces your damage slightly, but allows you to fire 2 bullets at once for double the ammo. So DPS wise, this is the best attachment that you can get. However, it does have a evil twin, the laser double accuracy. Now, it does increase your accuracy, but it does also have one additional effect, is that it increases bullet speed, which can be useful for Torg weapons. However, for pretty much everything else, it's pretty much useless. For the next one. And now for the next 3 prefixes, you can't actually tell what it is by looking at the front side of the gun. You'll have to look at the other side of the gun to see it. And this one is going to be the increased damage prefix, which increases your damage and also increases the recoil caused by the gun. And now for the next one. And for this next one, just like the last one, moving on to the other side of the guns, that way you can see the attachment. And this one's going to be the second best attachment that you can get DPS wise, which is going to be the rate of fire increase. And now for our last attachment, again, moving to the other side of the gun, we have the mag size. Now this increases your mag, but also increases the time it takes to reload your gun, which can be a pretty bad side effect depending on the gun. Anyway, that's pretty much going to cover it for the accessories. So now let's go ahead and go over the final part, which is going to be the barrels. And one thing to remember about the barrels is that even though for unique guns, say like the Unkempt Herald, the barrel is always going to be set, it still gets the positive and negative effects of that barrel. So this should help you point out what each of those uniques also has. So let's go ahead and go over them. And for our first barrel, we have the Bandit Barrel. Its positive effect is that it will increase the weapon damage of the gun, however not as much as say a Torque or a Jacobs. And its negative effect is that it will also reduce the accuracy of it. And now for the next barrel, which is going to be the Torque Barrel. Its positive effect is that it increases weapon damage, however it has a lot of negatives. It reduces the rate of fire, it reduces reload speed, increases recoil, and reduces the accuracy. And now for the next barrel. For this one, we have the Dull Barrel, and it gets increased accuracy, reduced recoil, faster recoil recovery, and as a downside, it loses damage. And for the next barrel, we have Tediore. Its positive effect is that it does nothing, and its negative effect is that it does nothing. This barrel literally does nothing. On to the next one. And now for the next barrel. This is the Malla Barrel. Its positive effect is that it gets increased elemental effect chance, and it also gets increased accuracy. It also has no negative effects to it, so it does not hurt you in any way to use this barrel. However, its benefits are kind of small. And now for everyone's favorite, the Vladof Barrel. This one gets increased rate of fire, increased magazine size, increased recoil reduction, but as a side effect also reduces the accuracy a little bit. But overall, this is the best DPS barrel for just standard guns. However, this barrel cannot spawn on Jacob's weaponry. Not that increased rate of fire would do much of anything anyway, but the mag size would have been nice. Anyway, on to the next barrel. And now we have the Hyperion Barrel. Its positive effect is that it increases accuracy, reduces recoil, as well as giving the gun 33% extra critical hit damage. However, it will reduce the weapon's damage and reduce its mag size. And unfortunately, the damage loss is the greatest out of all of the barrels, which almost cancels out the 33% critical bonus that the barrel gets. Anyway, on to the next one. Next up, we have the Jacob's Barrel. This one increases weapon damage and also increases weapon accuracy. However, as a downside, will reduce the rate of fire, and it will also increase the recoil that the gun gets. And now on to our final barrel, which is the E-Tech Barrel. Its positive effect is that it gets increased weapon damage as well as increased elemental effect chance, downside being that it can no longer crit and consumes 2 ammo. However, for Malla 1, it will consume 3 ammo. It also becomes a fucking dart pistol. So that alone should make you never want this ever. Alright, and that is pretty much going to cover it for all of the weapon parts for the pistol. As always, if you found this guide helpful, don't forget to leave a like on the video. Let me know that you enjoy this, and this series will definitely continue with all of the others. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.